G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder with Mags. So patch 1.77 has dropped and all the new toys from the dev server are now available. So today we'll be taking a look at Italy's newest low tier fighter, the Reggiane Re.2000. Yes, with all the new machines that have come out in regards to tanks or everything else, I've actually been playing around with the low tier fighters, as this was my pick for the most fun machine that I found on the 1.77 dev server. And you better believe this thing is a hell of a lot of fun to fly, but it isn't without a couple of drawbacks. But first, let's look at the stat card. The Re.2000 is a rank 1 battle rating 2.0 aircraft of the Italian Air Force, and it's armed with two 12.7mm Breda Stafford machine guns with 600 rounds of ammunition. That's 300 rounds per gun on board. Listed top airspeed is 529 km an hour when fully upgraded at 17,000 feet, which isn't too bad for a 2.0 aircraft, and the listed turn time is 16 seconds, which is good. The rate of climb is 1,929 feet per minute, which is again not horrible for a 2.0 aircraft. So, that's the stat card. But how is the aircraft practically? Well, the Re.2000 has three major drawbacks. First is, unsurprisingly, the guns. I've made no secret of my dislike for the Breda 50 cals in War Thunder. With a muzzle velocity of 765 meters per second and a rapid fall off, the Bredas come with all the problems of a larger caliber cannon, but none of the payoffs. They feel about as effective as having two Italian midgets with spit guns slagging burning pasta loogies at the enemy, and honestly do similar levels of damage. The only upside to the round is that they do have a reasonably high chance of setting a fire, which 8 times out of 10 is actually what kills the aircraft. The second drawback is the engine. Apparently the P11 RC40 radial was designed for exclusive use in the Arctic Circle. It has no wet, but even so will overheat with alarming regularity. Anything over 80% power will cook the aircraft's engine given time, but the aircraft's combat performance is reliant on pulling maximum power, so you'll be watching the temps and pulling back on the throttles to cool off regularly in combat. And last of all is the durability. The aircraft seems to be made of wet tissue paper held together with silly string, and a good contact from pretty much any weapon in the game has a high chance of crippling or even outright killing the aircraft, so don't get shot. So, that's the downsides. What are the upsides? Well, thankfully everything else. For its tier, the 2000 can keep up with most of what it faces. Its acceleration, while not mind-blowing, is more than acceptable. Its climb rate will allow it to keep altitude with almost everything it faces, and its energy retention in a turn is also pretty good, which is important as this aircraft can outturn a Hurricane. Flown correctly, this thing will cause recurring nightmares among pilots trying desperately to get guns on it. In terms of flight style, it's most similar to the American P-36, but even more nippy. And for a non-performance bonus, I also think it happens to be one of the few aircraft that actually look really good in early war Italian camouflage. So at this point in the battle, we've already taken out a Hurricane, we've taken out an I-16, and we've got a kill assist on an I-153. However, a Yak-7 has just arrived, so it is going to be our next victim. So just cut a small scissors there to control our speed, let the Yak-7 overshoot and get in front of us so we can get onto its tail. This is a place where you always want to try and put this aircraft. You never want to get in front of the enemy's guns, you want to be behind them, and once you're there, you will be able to stay there. And unfortunately at this point we've got a really good example of the Bredas, and part of the reason why I don't like them, if you look at exactly how much lead I had to give the Yak-7 in order to be able to get those rounds on target, and the bastard thing was only at 250 meters range. That said, we do manage to land a couple more hits on target, and there we go, set the fireball and explode. So that's 3 aircraft we've torched at this point. Only the 153 has managed to not light up, and that's the one we got the assist on. And our next target has arrived. It's an SB2U2, but as I mentioned earlier, the engines are overheating because we've been pushing them too long. We've had to throttle it all the way back to 0. I'm in a glide at this point in time, just trying to cool the engines down. Shots on target. Throttle back up. The engines are going to overheat almost immediately, but it'll buy us enough time to get the guns on target and take the pilot straight out of the cockpit and once again light the aircraft on fire. However, the engine temps are already back into the amber and now into the red. So we're going to pick up a little bit of altitude here so we can wind back the engines and start cooling them off so they don't self-destruct. And at this point, it's time to take the Re.2000 back to the runway, land, and get it serviced, so the overheating issue goes away, at least for a small amount of time. There's still 2 enemy aircraft on the enemy team. There is a bomber and there is another fighter. I don't know where the fighter is at this moment, but the bomber was last seen heading towards our bombing target, so I should be able to get back to base after shooting up these ground targets, get a repair, and then intercept it before it manages to make the bombing site. So now, fully repaired, rearmed and refueled, back in the air, and we are now hunting the final 2 remaining targets on the enemy team. Now I have absolutely no idea where their fighter is at this time, but we have managed to locate their bomber. As we spotted on our way out, it was heading towards our bombing site, and sure enough, it was continuing to fly there in a straight line. Now, under normal circumstances in this situation, I would be going after the fighter on the enemy team, because, honestly, it's a little bit more fun, and we have absolutely no risk of this bomber actually managing to end the match before we do. In fact, at this point, there are 5 aircraft alive on the Italian team. 3 of them are in bombers, and they are doing quite the good job of blowing the living hell out of every single ground target. Unfortunately, I don't know where the fighter is. Now, I do know the enemy fighter is a P-36, but the last time I spotted him was while I was engaging the Yak-7, and he was heading back towards his base. From there, he never showed up in this match again. And at this point, this poor bomber pilot is crapping his pants. He knows I'm here, he's trying to spray in my direction, hoping that it'll make me go away, but that's just not going to happen. Now, of course, he's flying a Farman F222.2. I'm assuming the other 0.8 retreated at the start of the battle. Now, the 220 series of bomber was, of course, designed in the early 1930s, with the 22 model coming online and entering service in 1937. That puts this at about 2 to 3 years older than the RE2000. At least in terms of enter service date. In terms of design, it's closer to a decade. That being said, the F222 here did actually put up quite the fight, so we've managed to hit the right engine and we've set it on fire, and it's still returning fire and does manage to hit the engine cowling. Now, while this doesn't appear to have any adverse effects to the aircraft, taking shots anywhere near the engine is the last thing you want in this particular plane, and we just did get a look at the P-36, so I was wrong, it did actually appear at least once. We do not get to engage it, however. Now, with the F222, it was time to start pulling it apart. Now, it obviously has those big open engines underneath. They're a perfect target, but I wasn't planning on taking any chances with the aircraft. So, first pass, we take out the nose gunner. I was hoping to hit one or both of the pilots with that shot as well, but I will take that. And on the second pass, we're aiming for the back of the cockpit and the tail gunner position. Now, the F222 is pretty thin-skinned. It's entirely possible to take the pilots out from behind, but we hit the tail gunner. At this point, there is absolutely nothing this aircraft is capable of doing to defend itself, so we can get as close as we like. Now, I should have mentioned this earlier on. There is one other quirk with the RE2000. It's another one of those aircraft that does not roll directly down its center axis, so in a banking turn, the guns will pull up higher than you're expecting them to. That said, we have just lit the left engine on fire, we've already lit the right engine on fire. This time it should go down, and even with this level of damage, it still took a bloody long time. We can hear bits of the aircraft exploding at the moment. We're still getting the constant tick from the fire doing damage to the aircraft, and it's still going, although it is slowly going in. And finally it goes down. So there is kill number 5, ace in a day. And as you can see at the ticket counter at the top of the screen and the unit count at the bottom, also the end of the match. I do manage to land the aircraft, we grab a repair and a reload, I get the wheels off the ground and start heading towards the enemy runway to try and find that P-36, but the rest of the team bombs out the remaining targets and the match comes to a close. So the results for the match, we have 5 kills, 1 assist and 2 ground targets for 4,843 points, first place for the team. Awards for the match were Fighter Rescuer, Avenger, Shadow Strike X4, Double Strike, Professional X5, Survivor and Terror of the Sky, with the match total earning 52,505 Silver Lions with a premium account and 7,251 vehicle research points, which back researched the C200 Series 7 that I was in the process of unlocking. It's one of the planes that I skipped, and completed the spade on the aircraft, unlocking the cover. Total match time was 18 minutes and 20 seconds. So, the RE2000, probably some of the most fun I've actually had in War Thunder in quite some time. This is a fantastic little aircraft, it costs next to nothing to unlock. If you have any aircraft in the Italian tree, you should probably be able to unlock this aircraft in as little as a single match. As a fantastic de-stress aircraft, I thoroughly recommend it. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. As always, feel free to check the video description down below for links to my social media, links to my Twitch, and links to my Patreon for those who would like to support the channel directly. And until next time, remember to click that like button, share and subscribe if you would like to see more, and as always, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.